I have different things in our lives that we hold to be sacred, right? But a lot of times what we don't do is we don't know why we hold stuff sacred. We don't really do our own deep dives into that stuff. And really, that's not like an accusation. It's just the truth. I mean, we don't know why it is that some of us, we don't know why it is that we feel so strongly about what's happening with the nation. We just know that, we love the red, white, and blue. We know that we love freedom, and we know that we love, yada, yada about the nation. But we're not really in touch with the root of those things. We don't really know the why about it and why that touches our hearts so much. Now, there's people out there who it doesn't touch at all because they've been taught not to let those things touch them. And so you see that in our society right now, where there's people who actually hate the nation, but they also hate religion. They hate people who speak out and have different opinions because they've been taught that. They've been taught that that's what they can do, what their right is, that they have a right to speak that way about individuals. They have a right to shut individuals down. They have a right to ostracize individuals who have differing opinions. They've actually been taught that, and that's actually what they hold sacred. Well, imagine having a place where you can actually learn. I mean, you can kind of go to a spot where you can learn some of the things about why it is our nation was founded, how it is why it was founded, and what it is that we actually believed, and how things change over time. How things actually change for the better over time. Which nations out there didn't even hold to the truths that they hold to now, but they changed over time because individuals saw that there was room to make positive gains. Like this nation. There's individuals out there who will say that, this nation was founded on slavery, it was founded on misogyny and all that, but they ignore how things actually change over time. They ignore real firsts in the nation, real firsts here, especially about women's suffrage and about black rights and that type of thing. They ignore that stuff, even about where and who was leading the charge against in the anti-slavery movement, okay? Who actually was leading those charges. So I want you to understand this, okay? If you don't know why you hold things sacred, you really should just ask yourself, okay, am I willing to do a little bit of homework? Am I willing to dive in? And I'm creating a space for that. But I want you to be wise about this. It's your decision about what you do with this stuff. And I'm gonna use an analogy here that I think was one of the worst virtue signals of the 20th century that I remember hearing. I remember thinking to myself, even before I was a Christian, right? Like, this is a really stupid idea. There's people out there who really believe it's virtuous to let their children decide about their spirituality. Okay, I'm not going to teach my kids about Christianity or Catholicism. I'm going to let them choose themselves, okay? Now, it sounds really good, but it's one of the dumbest ideas out there. Let me just break it down to you why. First off, you're the parent. You have a responsibility to bring your children up with the right morals, the right compass, and the right way of thinking. That's your job. That's actually your job. And you're giving your kids spirituality over to whatever is out there. Now, why is that crazy? Because you're saying, I'm going to let my kid decide what they're going to believe and if they should go to church and if they should do this or that. When you're giving your child, a person that might be 7 or 8 or 9, who will choose freaking Oreos and ice cream over vegetables because it tastes good, okay? Now, that's like a simple idea. Simple. Kids choose the most simple because it feels good. They don't do the right things because it is right. They don't. Now, you as a parent have to guide your kid, and there will be a point in time where they make their own decision, which is usually around their teenage years, where they'll make their own decisions and stuff. Well, the virtue signal in that will say, well, I'm a good parent because, I'm giving my kid this opportunity to do it on their own. When in reality, that's just not smart. Because you're letting your kids dive head first into all kinds of shenanigans, which is why so many parents have no clue why their kids are acting the way that they're acting right now, so entitled and absolutely off the chain when it comes to being disciplined. Kids don't even know what discipline actually is because they're not being disciplined. So how do you change that? You as a parent, you as a person who might be older, you might be a person who might be seeing the fallacy in the ideas. You might think to yourself, okay, how can I change that? Well, you make the change by taking a stand and by saying, I'm going to move in a different direction. You do that by understanding why it is that you hold things sacred. why it is that you hold to certain truths to be important to you, and why it is and how it is that you mentor those who are younger than you. See, right now, I believe that there is a missing link here between those who I have great ideas and want to use those ideas for society versus those who have these great ideas and want to use it for society but are scared to talk because they're scared of bringing the truth into light. There's people out there who are scared of doing that. There's a first group of people who are willing to do it, but they understand it's going to cost them something. I understand it's going to cost me something big. Okay, it's going to cost me like $13,500 which is why I'm asking you guys to help me support me in that. But I also understand too, it might cost me some relationships. It already cost me relationships already, but I'm willing to those relationships. I mean, if they weren't going to be there forever, then maybe they were there for that time, and I could be okay with that. But when it came down to them being completely bigoted and racist against me, it's like, okay, maybe you really weren't my friend. You were just there for a time. That might be what it is. Because the religious bigots and the racial bigots, the racist bigots, the ethnic bigots, those people who are who they are. Okay, that is who it is. But I know that I understand that I need to talk to people about this stuff because I see that there's folks out there that want to know what to do next. This is why I've always said, this whole thing is not about Donald Trump. It's not about Joe Biden. This is about an ideology that will either become about freedom or about communism. And people are being taught communism in the slide, okay? There's folks who don't even understand what it actually means to be a communist, who are supposedly Christian and have no clue what communism actually means to Christian faith. They have no clue because they've never been taught, or they've been taught and they just want to ignore it. So this is your decision, okay? You right now, you get to make a decision. Am I willing to learn? Do I want to know? You have to purpose it in your heart. And then when you purpose it in your heart, you make the decision about, okay, am I willing to take those steps and actually do something that might be hard and just learn? And then when you learn, you take those things to heart. But you got to purpose it in your now, because believe me, if you go into a fight not knowing how to even fight, not knowing what you believe, you're going to be a marshmallow. Despite what kind of weapons that you might have, despite what kind of training that you might have, if you don't have the why within you to get you through the hard time, you will not stand. You will not stand. And the things that you think are sacred, they won't become sacred the moment that you are faced with true adversity. So you need to understand that, and I'm trying to give you a way out of this. I'm trying to show you something. And I'm hoping that you come along with me in that, because if you don't purpose it in your heart right now, as a person that's watching from the TV or from that couch, you will be subject to those people on the TV, which is what we're finding right now. People are subject to individuals who are unscrupulous, who do not know how to govern, how to lead, and who will do things to the regular individual because they believe that they can. If you're not willing to stand now and you don't know what you stand for, you will not stand later on. Believe me.